In times of economic stress, if you like, one of the most important things for any supply chain is to identify where the waste is within that supply chain, but also to identify where, in the terms of the total supply chain costs, what are the large costs, and look at these in great detail. In fact, use the process of lean principles to evaluate and take waste out of the program. You also want to minimise the amount of stock, and of course, depending on whether you're making a configure-to-order product, a make-to-stock product, or engineer-to-order. Now, if it's an engineer-to-order product, at times of recession, you want to get very close to the needs of your customer, and you only want to buy in the components when you actually need to buy them. So especially in an A-type plant where you are buying in large components from outside suppliers, you want to make sure you know the longest lead time item on your bill of material and identify then when it should come to your process. So if something costs $1 million, you obviously don't want to put it out too early. You want to know when it's to come. You want to know what your cash flow basis will be. Most companies that fail at times of recession is really due to, it's not their ability to make, it's their ability to handle their cash and their cash flow. Now, what causes large problems with cash flow is too much stock lying within the business. So the principles of just in time are absolutely fundamental to in times of recession, and also to be absolutely sure that what you're making, you have the ability to make it within at least 93 to 95% confidence limits. If you are out with that, you have the propensity for waste. These should absolutely be eliminated before you even start the process. Now, you'll have a different strategy for your make-to-stock products, you'll have a different strategy for your configure-to-order, but the same thing applies throughout. Minimise waste throughout the entire process. I hope that answers, if you like, the basis of what I believe are the fundamental elements that you require to do within a supply chain. Now, we've gone through the SCORE model in classes, and the SCORE model is vitally important, and in that can help you plan out where your issues are, where the problems are. It can also act as a reference to see what other people are doing within that space. So if your costs are much higher than the 80% of the people that are in that space, you've got to really consider why your costs are high and make sure you then eliminate where that cost is. Now, what you don't want to do is spend too much money eliminating elements if there's no value or benefit back from that. However, therefore, a quantitative and qualitative assessment needs to be made of all elements of the supply chain, from your supplier's supplier to your customer's customer.
The things that I think are important managing your business in turbulent times, obviously I'm an operations management person, so I'm going to say one of the things I think is very important is about trying to be as efficient as possible and try and keep your cost base down. I think the second thing for me is all about reaching out and looking for new business opportunities. And I think the third thing, particularly for the smaller firms, which I work with quite a lot, is about keeping control of your finances and making sure that you're collecting money that's due to you, and that you're not overstretching yourself. So I think maybe if I talk about these three things, I think the first one, looking at trying to reduce your cost base as much as possible, makes sense in any environment, never mind hard times. But I think operations management can help you to do that. I think some of the things that companies I'm working with are doing is looking at their processes, trying to eliminate waste, working with their supply chain, trying to make that as efficient as possible. I think some organisations are looking at headcount, trying to reduce headcount. I think you've got to be very careful when you're doing that, but perhaps looking at outsourcing things is a popular method of doing that. So I think you've got to kind of weigh up the risks and the rewards and be quite careful in how you analyse it. I think the second thing that I said was about trying to find more business, and obviously that's hard in turbulent times. Again, you find organisations who have cut marketing budgets. Always difficult to find business when you've done that. Actually, that sometimes leads itself to opportunities. I've been working with a couple of companies recently where actually they've found an opportunity because their competitors have done exactly that. They've cut marketing budgets, so it's actually providing the organisations that I'm working with an opportunity to go out and steal the business of their competitors. So again, that's it's not all doom and gloom in times like this. I've also come across a number of situations where companies have perhaps found competitors or even suppliers who have gone out of business due to tough times. So again, you've got decisions to make there about whether you jump at that opportunity if you can afford to do it, and invest in these organisations, buy them over. But again, it's all about risk management and making sure you've actually got the resources to be able to do that, and not overstretch yourself. I think the final thing about keeping an eye on cash flow, again, I do an awful lot of work with small companies, and it is very often cash flow that gets the small companies. So the ones perhaps who have been doing the right things, who have become much more efficient, are struggling just because they've not got the money coming in. They've perhaps not thought enough about their processes of collecting money off people. And it's very sad when you see a company who is doing lots of the right things, but really, it's because of cash flow, they're forced out of business.
First of all, I think the first thing is in an economic downturn, you obviously have to make sure that you can survive the downturn. In other words, you have to probably reduce costs in various ways, particularly make sure that you're even more efficient than you were before. Okay, so I think that's probably the first thing. Because otherwise, whatever your good ideas are afterwards, you might not survive a difficult economic situation. So cut out any waste, do things as efficiently as possible, what you already do. But the second thing is obviously looking for new opportunities. So the world is always changing. So the economic downturn, for instance, that has been taking place in the last 2 years or so, has not hit everything, all parts of the world equally. So although Western Europe, parts of Western Europe have suffered quite a lot in North America, as we know in Asia, East Asia and Southeast Asia, actually activity has not been so badly affected, and China is growing again quite rapidly. So for instance, if you look at Western Europe, British industry has not done so well during the economic downturn. Whereas if you look at Germany is actually growing quite rapidly again at the moment, because there's lots of high technology manufacturing companies who are benefiting from, say, still quite rapid growth in China and in Southeast Asia, and they're actually exporting quite a lot. So for them, I mean, although everybody was hit to begin with, they have found new opportunities to basically sell to new markets.